George Kilpatrick, Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. Tuesday, November 4th, is Election Day. Today, though, Sunday, November 2nd, you have the opportunity to vote early, last chance till 5 o'clock, all over the county. Wherever you live, you can vote. Sharon Owens is deputy mayor, but she's running for mayor of Syracuse, and we welcome you to the program.
Thanks for having me, George.
Appreciate it. All right, let me get my stopwatch out because I know so you have some time. I know I said a few minutes, but looked like we may have to do a little bit more. You good?
Yep.
All right. So let's just go back to basics. What inspired you to throw your hat in the ring?
George, since coming off of the campus as a student there, began working in our community, on the ground, in the neighborhoods, in not-for-profit agencies, and began working in government. I had never gone looking for government. Government came looking for me when Stephanie Miner knew I was working at home headquarters, helping people become first-time home buyers. And so that first kind of getting my toe wet into government was good because I was working on housing development, neighborhood revitalization, and then Jesse Dowdell retired, and I went to the Southwest Community Center and worked there, helping to really work with the community to turn that agency around, and we did a good job. And then Ben Walsh won, and because we had worked together under Mayor Minor, we knew each other, so he asked me to come on. I'm running because I've learned a lot of practical application from all of the 30 plus years of not-for-profit work on the ground, bringing that into City Hall, into government work. There's plenty of work we've been doing, and I've been engaged in personally as a deputy mayor. I'm not done, George. I have more to continue to do. I believe I'm qualified. I have executive experience in managing people, money, and services. And so I'm ready to continue this next phase of my career of service to Syracuse.
Do you feel that that is what differentiates you from your opponents?
Definitely the executive experience. Being able to learn from the masters in this community about how to manage people, services, and finances really positioned me to really understand. Even when I came into City Hall, when the budgets are much, much greater, but it all practically is the same thing. What are your revenues? What are your expenses? And how are you going to balance those in order to provide the services that your constituency or your clients need? And my client is the city of Syracuse.
Let me ask you about, and there's some more things I want to do about your background. So,
Mhm,
but you are in the administration now. So let me ask you
mhm,
about one thing that has been said during this campaign
mhm.
is that the city misappropriated $10 million related to the payroll conversion.
Sure.
Did that happen?
No, it did not happen. And we did not spend, not misappropriate. We did not spend $10 million. We spent about $8 million. When I came to City Hall, when I left Southwest Community Center, we had an automated payroll system. You would walk into Southwest Community Center, there was a thumb scan, hand scan situation that's how you punched in. And then you were able to manage your payroll, manage your time, manage everything electronically. I get to City Hall and we're filling out paper timesheets. And I'm like, what are we doing here? We have over a $300 million budget and we're managing 20, over 2,000 staff people with paper timesheets. And so we started on a process of really looking to implement that. We sourced it out. I have never been an individual who has said that, you know, what happened with the management of that project was good. It wasn't good at all. Um, Many people think when you're deputy mayor, you're mayor too, and you're looking over the entire city portfolio. My portfolio is actually police, fire, housing, code enforcement, permits, planning. I call it the people facing part. Then there's the administrative back office, everything that keeps the city running, that's back office. That was my counterpart, that was Frank Kaliba. Was the program managed? Could it be managed better? You better believe it. Did we misappropriate funds? No, no. And I will add that the Attorney General herself said there was no misappropriation.
So okay, so you're
Mhm.
basically disputing that claim.
That says that we stole money. We didn't steal money. No, that's just absolutely not true. What could the program have been managed better? Absolutely. And we have learned, not throwing shade to the school district, how hard this is. They had teachers who were not paid appropriately with their time. It is hard. And the county went through a similar process. It took them 10 years to implement the program.
Listen, I live with a teacher, so I know about all of that. So, okay. So I do know about that piece of it. So, what would you say is what differentiates you between them? Because you're in the administration now, right? So
Mhm,
you got to
mhm,
own it as well as differentiate from it.
mhm.
So, what would you do differently than your boss now?
I think that there were some very specific things that we went through that I would have done differently. It's no secret that I had kind of rang the alarm bell regarding the housing authority probably 2 years ago. I think that we should have, and I should have been more forceful in, really emphasizing how bad and how much change and how much correction needed to happen there. And I didn't do that, and I regret that. Um, I would do things differently because I'm a different person. I'm a 62-year-old Black woman. I come with 62-year-old Black woman experiences, um, expectations, struggles that would make me look at how we are operating. Fundamentally, on the ground, I work for the city, and Ben Walsh is my mayor because we fundamentally believe in the same principles of fairness, equity. Um, I think the thing that separates us the most is we have very different temperaments, George. Um, I just don't have time for nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's some nonsense, and maybe people are given too much rope, and they shouldn't be given too much rope. I just don't have time for that because the bottom line is that um, the people of Syracuse depend on us being as efficient as possible. And this administration has been. We have a new sidewalk program, the trash program. We equip DPW with equipment that's worthy of them, the fire department, the police reform efforts that we went through. There are a lot of things that I'm extremely proud of. The work we were doing with gun violence prevention, whether people believe or not that we should invest the money in there, 90% of our kids are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. It's the 10% that are struggling. And am I and is it a waste of money for me to invest at the 10% so they can become part of the 90? Heck no, it's not. And
Mm.
I don't apologize for that.
As you served as deputy mayor and worked with many community stakeholders, how would you continue to bring people together across the neighborhoods and backgrounds and political lines? Because one of the critiques of
Mhm.
this administration was the choice to invest in the West Side housing as opposed to the claim is that the money was not for housing was on one side of town where the other city neighborhoods were not invested in. How do you answer that?
I answer that that's completely inaccurate. If you look over at Woodland and Baker and off of State, that's an entire new neighborhood over there. What's being done on the west side, particularly Tip Hill, is because we made the bold choice of, through eminent domain, seizing the Syracuse Developmental Center. Went to Kathleen Hochul and pitched the need for her investment because no one would invest in that 40 acres. You're not going to find 40 acres in the
Mm-hmm.
city.
Mm-hmm.
40 acres of property. To pitch to her that we needed the state to help us tear the facility down. And so $20 million she forwarded to the city of Syracuse through the efforts, my efforts in combination with the mayor to talk about the need to take that down. Now we're going to redevelopment. And it's not going to be high-end, unaffordable the properties that are going to start there are low to mid-income apartment buildings. And so we're going to put 250 some odd units on the market in that neighborhood. And that's just the beginning. It's just a section of it. There are an entire second half of that. The areas that in the community that we really struggle on, one is the north side. The south side, for example, was so divested for so many years that people walked away from property, tax delinquent. So the land bank, we were able to seize properties and get them, warehouse them through the land bank so they couldn't be subject to speculation. So now that opens up the opportunity to build like the 5 houses that Home Headquarters has just built on State Street. 3 of those houses have buyers, and 2 of them are still looking for buyers if you want to own a home on State Street. They're beautiful homes. Um, we are also the north side is a struggle because of site control. You have to get site control, and we have so many speculators in this city that just hold on to property. And so the premise that we are not investing in other parts of the community, all you have to do is ride down State Street and ride down other parts. All of the redevelopment that's been done on Midland, all of that property, those apartments over there, off of the creek walk in that area. So that just is not true.
And how would you bring together to finish that part of the question?
Mhm.
So, given that you're the mayor of the all of the city, how would you bring people together across neighborhoods, backgrounds, and political lines?
So one of some of the most staunch community activists in our community have said to me, Sharon, that your ability to talk to people who don't agree with you or who you don't agree with, but to hear the all sides of the story is your superpower. And so I'm going to continue to be George, who I've been for 40 years, getting in rooms, hearing your side, listen to my side. For every problem, there is a solution. The question is, what is that path to the solution? And that solution takes a room that is diverse and has the opportunity for many people to be able to express their ideas and their concerns. One thing, George, is people think about one thing about the mayor that people don't understand is that the mayor has the authority to appoint to many boards, and these are public entities. The airport, the Industrial Development Agency, um, um, uh, so many different
Planning
authorities.
Commission.
Planning Commission, the BZA, the Board of Zoning Appeals. And here's an opportunity to insert so many diverse voices into these boards as terms begin to cycle out of those bodies. And when I spoke to a group recently, I wanted to make the point that let's remember that here comes an opportunity for the first Black mayor, second female mayor, to really look at the diversity on these boards and the voices that are on these boards who are unelected people who make very important decisions around how land is used, what projects are approved, how our tax credits are applied.
Why are you the best person for this job?
I'm the best person for this job because my vision and my look at the job is not speculative. I put my shoes on every day and go into City Hall. I see the good and the struggle of it every single day. I sit and talk to victims of violence in our community. I talk to people who want better housing and how to get it there. And I have, over the course of my career, created a vast network of resources and allies who are ready. They talk to me every day, Sharon, we can't wait till you're in that seat because we are really ready. And that's just not happening locally, George. I'm getting calls from all over this country and this state and country about people who are, we've been talking recently about economic development. Coming back together last time we were there, and there were individuals who went to SU who left. And when they came back this last time, it was like, what is going on here? I said, this is not the Syracuse you knew when you went to school here in the 80s and the 90s, right? And so I just got a call the other day from economic development folks in town who are saying we need to have people taking another look at Syracuse. And I said, I'm down for that, except that they need to do that and partner with our existing companies and our existing, particularly BIPOC developers to help create some synergy and some partnerships for growth for everyone.
What are your top priorities then that you would focus on if you were elected mayor?
It, our every day when we open our eyes, we're graced to open our eyes starts with where you lay your head. And so housing, housing, housing. Um, our housing stock is old. We have aging infrastructure. One of the things that really concerns me is what the current president is going to do with HUD, because HUD is what is the funding that we use to be able to address lead paint. The EPA is funding us to address lead pipes on the private side, but the paint is the large part, the what is victimizing all of us, young and old. So housing, absolutely. I'm going to continue to work with the police department and our community violence intervention to really continue. Our violent crime is absolutely trending down, but George, that doesn't matter if your Amazon package was
Right,
stolen off your porch, right?
right,
And so to begin to work with the police department to really look at these areas of public safety where what we call quality of life crimes, those nuisance crimes, they're not violent, but they're violent to you when your
right.
property that you just paid for has been stolen because somebody just walked up on your porch. No, people can't get away with that. And then I also want to double down on parks has never been under my portfolio. I'm looking forward to working with parks because of my background at Dunbar at the Southwest Community Center to really expand our ability to serve our teenagers. Those tweens and teens need extra hours to be at great facilities and great programming, and our parks are well positioned to do that.
You mentioned being on the campaign trail. I've watched many of your debates and been to some of them.
Mhm.
You mentioned being on the campaign trail and hearing from residents. What are you hearing? And you laid out your priorities. How do they align with what you're hearing from people?
People want to live in quality housing. People want to live in housing they can afford. Um, Many of the 60% of the people who live in the city rent. They're concerned about being priced out of the market because the rents keep going up and the quality doesn't keep pace with it. Um, they want to, whether the data says that we are safer, they want to feel safe. Um, we have a lot of work to really encourage and build the ranks of our police department. Because while there is a delicate balance between the police department and particularly communities of color, people realize we need police and realize that we're under policed right now as far as the numbers are. So I'll be working on that absolutely. And this economy is growing. It cannot be denied when you just look around. And it is not true that it's only downtown. And it is not true that it's only the university. South Carolina, it has the STEAM school. It has the South Carolina itself. $80 million on-ramp is going to be at the Sears building. It's going to be redeveloped there. We have the commitment from New York
Finally,
State.
after a million years, something's going to happen
Yes,
with that building
yes. The
because every
Sears building
proposal
is
in the
going to
sun
be
has.
it's going to be redeveloped. Well, how exciting is that, right?
Yeah.
Um, heading towards the west side, La Liga and some other folks over there have some development projects in the queue for housing. Going to the east side, Housing Visions is going to be doing some more housing in that footprint that is where their offices are. So this is going on all around us. In our communities. And so I'm just really excited about the potential for our community. What the campaign trail did for me is that I didn't spend time talking about other people. I spent time talking about me and my vision and what I want. And I live as a person who has hope. That is not having blinders on, but having a hope for our community and then doing the work. You can hope in the best of the community, but then you have to roll up your sleeves and do the work. And my life has been governed by doing that, believing the best and then doing the work to get us there. And that's what I can't help it. People call it passion. I just call it me, but I can't help but being that kind of person. So I think it's going to be a little different because, I have a filter, but I just love this community so much, and I just want to see what's best for it. And I believe that I'm the individual that has the skills, the temperament, and the relationships to move us forward.
So let's talk about temperament. So the
Yes,
last debate got a little testy,
a little bit.
a little bit. What do you want to say to folks about that? Because um, people may have never seen that side of you. What do you
Mhm.
want to say about that? So what happened during the debate? Something was said
So
to you.
So,
You
so I can't remember the exact question, but the point I made was we need to be. Oh, we were talking about the tax base.
right
48% of the property owners in Syracuse pay 100% of the assessed
because of
tax value,
the
right?
universities and hospitals and
Universe, eds and meds.
yeah,
Great economic drivers don't pay any taxes, right?
right,
And so my point was we have to be very mindful that that expansion doesn't happen to now taxable property that would become untaxed, right?
right,
And
right.
I made that point. And then my opponent, Mr. Babylon, said, "Well, Sharon, how can that be when you said that you're going to make everything under the 81 viaduct tax exempt?" And I said, "I didn't say that. That is not what I just said, and I haven't said that." And he said, and then he went on to say, "Yes, you did. You said it multiple times." I said, "The public housing is tax exempt and it will stay public housing. That's not new uh, tax exempt property. It already is there." And that's when I made the statement and I raised my voice because George has been a long campaign and there's been a lot said that I haven't said that I said. What we're not going to do tonight is say things that I did not say. It was a moment for me where I just felt like enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
That I did not say that. You're taking out of context the very conversation we're having right now. I stood up and said to the audience, public housing will remain public housing because I also hear from the people who live in that neighborhood who want to make sure that they have a place to come back to.
Mm-hmm.
Public housing will remain public housing. This is when, you're caught up in a moment. You don't really see what's going on. He stands up. I'm talking to the audience. He's talking to me and pointing his finger in my face. George, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Black, no,
That's just
that's
not going to
not
happen,
gonna
George.
happen. No, 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 no. Yeah.
Let's be
You,
respectful now.
you ought to know better. You don't do that.
You don't
You
do
don't do that
that.
to black folk. I'm sorry.
You
You just
don't
don't do
do that,
that.
George.
You don't do that. No.
No.
Um, so let me ask you about this. So can I have to offer this because this is what some have said. So
Okay.
they said this is what you know, I love Sharon, but she's not gonna get it done. She says she's gonna do it, but she's not gonna do it. Or we tried to get her to do it, but somebody else did it and she didn't do what she said she was gonna do. Have you I don't know if you've heard that, but
No.
this is what I've been hearing from a couple of people, so a handful of people. How would you respond to that?
Um, Whoever those folks are who felt that I didn't get something done, because if I can't do it, I'm going to say I can't do it.
Okay.
And if there are a couple of folks who said we wanted her to get it done, but she didn't get it done, because clearly they felt I made a commitment to them to do something. What is interesting is I don't know who you're talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
that means they never came back and talked to me. There
Mm-hmm.
are people who have said, "Can you help with this?" And I said, "I will see what I can do."
Mm-hmm.
And if it didn't turn out the way they wanted, they came back to me and said, "Sharon, this was the result." And I'll say, "Okay, let's go back to the table and let's figure out what's going next." George, I've been getting stuff done for over 40 years.
So you ain't
That's
trying,
just a fact. I
right?
was told that going to Southwest Community Center, I could not turn that place around because I was a woman. And I said, "You don't know me then." I've been getting things done my entire life. If
So
I
you
if I if I didn't, I wouldn't be in the position I'm at now.
so you reject the premise of that.
I reject deployment. Am I perfect? Can I get everything done, accomplished? No. And I think some people have perceptions of what city government can accomplish
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to what the community wants too. And so not knowing the details of what that particular instance is, I can't I can't tell you specifically what I did or did not do.
So today my daughter
Mhm.
calls me and says, "What do you think about McKinney Manor? The bulldozers have started." And that's a symbol of the I-81. What's it called? The the uh the area
Reconnection.
15
50
blueprint blueprint.
yeah. Well, let I do this all the time. It is not the blueprint project.
All right, so
It
talk
is
to
the
me.
Housing Authority project.
Okay, go
And
ahead.
it is the East Adams neighborhood.
East Adams neighborhood. All right, that's what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
that's what are we seeing there?
So what we're seeing is finally the first steps to redeveloping that property. Um, the other thing I want people to be rest assured of is that the Judge McKinney's name is not going anywhere.
That's what
It's
that
going to
was.
be
Okay,
repurposed in
right. A
that
lot of people.
space. He ain't going nowhere. Not
Okay,
only Judge McKinney, but there are some legacy names and families in that community that we're going to see streets and buildings and community rooms named after, right?
yeah. That
Um,
that was the
so
first thing my daughter called. She says, "Dad, what McKinney Manor? So his Judge McKinney's name is coming back somewhere."
somewhere, absolutely. Not only his, but other people who are legacy folks who lived in that neighborhood who weren't judges
Right.
or, you know what I mean? But they were legacy families in that community. But now is the redevelop those that housing over there is McKinney Manor is newer. But Pioneer Homes is that's the oldest. Pioneer Homes is the
Oldest in the
oldest
country.
in the country, and so someone made the point of there's nothing wrong with it. I said clearly you haven't been in those units. No, it needs to be redeveloped to 21st century housing with amenities for 21st century housing that are worthy of the people who live there. We're going to be building new apartments in Tip Hill. We're going to be building new apartments all along Midland Ave. All of that housing is up to um, uh, uh, increased building code, lead environmental, they heat, cool better, all of that. And so the people who live there are worthy of new housing, worthy of new housing. McKinney Manor was built decades after Pioneer Homes. Pioneer Homes is standing stronger than McKinney Manor. It was just built poorly.
And that replaced, was it Mulberry Square over
Yep.
there? Yeah, it replaced Mulberry. So we're seeing some and so to your point about housing,
Mhm.
making sure, as if you're elected, how do we make sure that the people who call East Adams neighborhood will have first right of refusal to return to the neighborhood?
So the difference between that neighborhood when the highway went up and when it's coming down now in this redevelopment is that HUD implemented regulations. So even when we remember Kennedy Square, there were no regulations protecting those folks when the biotech center was erected over there, right?
Right.
There are HUD protections now that I pray are going to stay under this president now. That one-to-one replacement, first right to return. Those are the provisions that are embedded within those regulations that the housing authority has no choice. The scary part is that now we're finding with these HUD dollars, with these federal dollars sprinkled in there, all this illegal um, 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 illegal resident language in it, really looking at ensuring that people are actual legally in the United States when many of them are in a process,
Mm-hmm.
but the federal government doesn't seem to care about the process people are in.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know. We just heard this week about ICE showing up at upstate, right? And what we're seeing is residents, citizens being detained. What as mayor,
Mm-hmm.
and you're a deputy mayor now,
Right.
what can you do to make sure that citizens and all people who are under the watch of this city
Right.
are protected from the what some would say the illegal detention of folk just based
I,
on the color of
I
their
flat out
skin.
call it, I flat out, if you haven't committed a crime and you haven't committed a crime and you've been taken against your will away from where you are, that's kidnapping to me.
Kidnapping, yeah, that's kidnapping.
It's
So what do we
kidnapping.
do? So what can you do
So,
about that to stop
so,
it?
so the first thing is that this shocks people. ICE comes in and like step cloak of darkness in the daytime. They're just in there. The way we know is you all in the community call us and say they're here or they're there. They don't notify City Hall. They don't notify the police department. So we, first of all, being made aware that they're around. The first thing of assurance for our community is that the Syracuse Police Department has a policy that will continue that they will not act as ICE agents. We're not going to go and detain people for ICE to come and get them. We're not doing that. Sheriff Toby Shelley has also said that if say someone is arrested and they're in the system, because the federal government gets access to that data, he's not going to detain them if they would in any other situation been released for ICE to come. There is amassing a huge network of lawyers, social activists, community agencies that work with refugees and immigrants and refugees and those that are in the process. And I thank God that really the last bastion of civility and order we have are the courts because there was recently one situation where the gentleman went before the court for him to be deported and the jury said no.
Mm,
So everyday human beings, no matter how we may differ in our philosophy and political alignment, we know when we see wrong, George.
right.
It's just wrong. And so as the mayor, continuing to make sure we stick by the policies that we have around not serving as an ICE agent, working with our the amazing AG we have in New York
Mm-hmm.
State, and also working with all of the army of lawyers because that is really how you fight it is because they're being detained. George, before the sun sets, they're in Texas.
Mm.
That's kidnapping.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, I'm glad there'll be that policy. Let me begin to wrap with a couple of things. What lessons have you learned from your time in city government that you would carry into the mayor's office should the people choose you?
Um, Trust my gut.
Mm,
My gut said 2 years ago, we need to, wind up what I was seeing at the housing authority as maybe some issues. And I don't think I was forceful enough about that.
mm-hmm,
Trust my gut. Trust my gut. Um, I second guess myself a lot because I always want to make sure that I'm hearing from multiple perspectives. But in trusting my gut, for the most part, from my years of experience, I never want to be the smartest person in the room. So I'm going to make sure I have people around me who understand my vision and where I want to go and how we get there. Um, Another lesson. Um, I learned a lot of lessons. You learn lessons, you that's how you grow. Um, Understanding how to work with people that I might not agree with, and every time I'm learning a little bit more about how to do that. This election cycle was whew, that was it. I mean, this
you're, you're in the final stretch.
um,
Um, one more thing before I give you your
mhm,
closing argument.
mhm,
Um, Obviously, crime is of concern to
mhm.
to residents in the city, and especially young people, and making sure that you know, education, youth, all of those things, things that you certainly have familiarity with. What's our solution for making sure that we see reductions in crime? And what do you see as mayor as a specific strategy that you will use?
So there was crime and then there was youth, and
Yes.
they're very different. So
Right.
for youth crime, the city doesn't control the family court, juvenile, Hillbrook, juvenile courts, probation. That's all the county. So our police department can detain a young person to get them to family court, and then family court starts a process. Um, I don't believe that youthful mistakes should have long-standing consequences for the life of a young person, but there have to be some accountability.
Right.
There has to be some accountability. Um, there's this feel now, and people raise the age, but I think that it did kind of go, the pendulum went way, way, way. We always, never find the right place in the middle, that there's this feel that nothing can be done to young people. And so I work with those partners at the county to say, there are some young people whose trauma, mental illness, whatever the case is driving them to do what they're doing, that need some intensive care.
Mm.
And it's gone beyond the care that their family could give them, quite honestly, George. Um, and so really working for Jude, because that's the most frustrating crime when it's kids,
Yeah.
because people are like, what can you do? The what can we do is really expressing the need for the county. We are going to bring in a 1.8 million dollar project that the state is called Exalt, that the state is funding. They've been extremely successful with adjudicated youth in New York City. The New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services wanted to replicate it in upstate and pick Syracuse. So we're in
Right.
the process now of preparing the contract to bring that program up to Syracuse.
And
Um,
and quickly on crime.
mhm. On crime, is a combination, but it is enforcement. We don't want to talk about this. I mean, George, you deserve the right to live in the sanctity of your home and
Yeah.
not be concerned about someone trying to jump into your home, steal your car. Um, these things. That type of crime has gone down over 25%. It is that nuisance crime. We're going into the holiday season and people are like, putting their packages out that are going to be delivered, and people just wholesale coming by. And when people feel like nobody's going to hold them accountable for that, they're just going to keep on, they're doing it. I want to do something about that. I want to be able to with a a small police force, find the best strategies to be able to. People got ring cameras all over the place. These are habitual criminals, and so to track them down. Um, because I understand that I'm not on the premise that, people who are living in poverty are going to commit crime. Come on, George. There may be 10 houses on a block and everybody living in poverty, but there's only
Ain't
one house that somebody is robbing people. So I
right.
don't, I don't, I don't, I don't go by that premise at all. And reminding people that people who are living in poverty work two jobs.
Yeah.
So they're doing their best.
So would you say you're going to be tough on crime?
I'm going to be proactive
Huh?
in addressing quality, particularly, we're going to do what we're doing now for violent crime, but be more proactive for those quality of life. Those are the ones that make people feel, the vast majority of us are not subjected to violent crime, but we are subject. Councilor car was just stolen.
Yes. And
But
also I think a couple of others, right? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the vast majority of us are subjected to those other crimes that just make you feel like you just violated my space.
I gotta pause it right there and give you your final message to the voters why you think you should be mayor.
Thank you, George, for the opportunity. I am been working for 40 years on the ground, at kitchens, in living rooms, in classrooms, working with families across the city, working for individuals to make their lives better. And I have a track record of doing that across 30 of the 40 years I was here. And then government said, wait a minute, what is that lady doing? And we need that perspective in government. I wasn't looking for government. I wasn't looking for politics. I was looking to take what I've learned over the course of my entire adult life in Syracuse to apply it to policy in our city to help each man, woman, and child live, work, and play better in the city of Syracuse. I've been poised for this. I've been mentored for this. I've been prepared for this moment in my life and in this moment in Syracuse. And I am ready to be the next mayor of the city. And I hope I can count on your vote on Tuesday, November 4th.
Sharon Owens, candidate. I was saying a lot of things at once. Sharon Owens, candidate for mayor of the city of Syracuse. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much, George.
And thank you for being a part of Inspiration for the Nation.